Coming up on WUFT Midday, early voting begins today in much of north central Florida. Where and when to cast your vote before Election Day. Plus, a set of leaked, highly classified documents is putting government officials on high alert. And what the federal government is doing to continue relief efforts for victims of Hurricane Helene. WUFT Midday starts now.
Watching WUFT Midday.
Early voting begins today in much of north central Florida. Registered voters can cast their ballots before Election Day, which is just 15 days away. This is WUFT Midday. I'm Bernardo Montas. Thanks for joining us. 8 early polling locations in Alachua County are open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Those locations are in Alachua, Gainesville, Hawthorne, and Newberry. You'll need a valid photo ID and signature identification document, like the back of your driver's license or your credit card. Mail-in ballot voters can deliver their sealed ballot to any of these locations too. Our neighbors can also vote early. Bradford County voters can go to the courthouse in Stark to cast their ballots. Columbia County voters have 2 early voting locations, Lake City and Fort White, at the Supervisor of Elections offices. Levy County voters can do the same at their SOE office in Bronson. Voters in Marion County have 8 polling locations to choose from, including many community centers and public libraries. Putnam County voters can cast their ballots at the Palatka Elections Office, Interlochen Community Center, and South Putnam County Government Complex. Dixie County voters at 229 Northeast 352 Highway in Suite A in Cross City, Gilchrist County voters in Room 137 in the County Courthouse, Union County voters in their SOE's main office, and Suwannee County voters at Joe Kennan Public Library, Judicial Annex, and Robert Leonard Public Library. To see a full list of early voting locations, visit your county's SOE site. One presidential candidate supporter is putting his money where his mouth is, but federal elections experts say his tactics may be illegal. Elon Musk is giving away $1 million each day to registered voters in battleground states. The owner of X and Tesla CEO announced the sweepstakes while advocating for former President Trump in Pennsylvania on Saturday. He says voters in swing states who signed his Political Action Committee's petition are eligible for the prize. Those states include Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Musk explained how you could be the next one.
Every day from now until the election, we're giving out $1 million prize. And all you have to do is sign a petition in support of the Constitution. It's very straightforward. You don't even have to vote.
Musk has given more than $75 million to his pro-Trump super PAC. He said he hopes the sweepstakes will boost registration among Trump voters. Experts warn this new tactic could be illegal. Federal law prohibits anyone from paying, offering to pay, or accepting payment for registering to vote or voting. The House task force investigating the first assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump has released its interim report. It was based on 23 interviews with local law enforcement officials who attended the Pennsylvania rally in July. They detailed the lack of communication and security failures as the chaotic event unfolded. The bipartisan task force concluded the shooting was preventable and shouldn't have happened. Lawmakers will issue a final report on the findings by mid-December, including any recommendations for security improvements. They're labeled top secret, but ended up online. A recent leak of highly classified U.S. intelligence documents is causing security concerns. Amy Kiley reports on efforts to find out who obtained them and how.
The breach is serious.
The U.S. is investigating a recent leak of highly classified documents, House Speaker Mike Johnson has confirmed.
The leak is very concerning. There's some serious allegations being made there, investigation underway.
The documents contain what appears to be U.S. intelligence on Israeli plans to strike Iran. A source familiar with them says they're authentic. It's unclear how they ended up on Telegram and began circulating publicly online Friday. The FBI is likely tasked with finding out, alongside the Pentagon and intelligence agencies.
We don't want to see it repeated, and we don't know who has access to it, who might want to repeat it again.
The documents appear to be intended only for certain officials in the U.S., Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the U.K. Analysts say they're ending up online instead could make Israel hesitant to share future intelligence. Some experts think that could harm American interests in the Middle East.
We have troops in the region. We need to have prior notice in terms of what the Israelis are planning so we can protect our troops in the response as well.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The White House is launching a new program to help people recover from recent hurricanes. The Community Liaisons program in North Carolina is helping those recovering from Hurricane Helene. Intermediaries between residents and FEMA will make sure resident needs are met. The administration also announced it has approved more than $300 million in assistance across the state. Helene was the second deadliest hurricane to strike the U.S. mainland in the past 50 years, killing hundreds of people across the southeastern U.S. One South Florida woman was lucky to survive after a tornado ripped through her home during Hurricane Helene. Arit Height reports to show us the state of her home now.
When you see what's left of Jane Houston's Port Salerno home, it's hard to imagine that someone inside survived when the tornado hit. It's even harder to imagine when you learn Jane Houston was inside this home alone. And Jane Houston is 105 years old.
105, born in 1919.
Riley Houston is Jane's great-grandson. He calls her his mama.
She is a strong, independent, stubborn woman. She is amazing.
Riley says Jane has lived on her own for years. She had just gone into the bathroom when the tornado hit.
I can't imagine her being in the bathroom just getting the roof ripped off the house and the other wall slamming into the door. She recounts that it was probably the scariest time of her life.
When it was over, neighbors found her in the rubble and pulled her to safety. She needed surgery for a foot injury. Her back is bruised and sore, but she's alive.
Miracle, luck, God, that's as best as I can really put it.
And as Jane recovers in the hospital, her neighbors are making sure she knows she's not alone.
We've got cleaning supplies, shampoo, toothpaste, clothes, blankets.
They've been collecting for her supplies, money, helping research housing.
She's our neighbor. We're inspired by her miraculous story of survival, and we just want to be a part of her rebuilding her life.
I am beyond overwhelmed with how much support has been around with the community.
And Riley says his mama is also overwhelmed by the support. He says she should soon be starting rehab for her injuries and hopes to be released from the hospital next week. She is initially going to need some round-the-clock care, but Riley says her goal is to again be living alone and living independently. In Port Salerno, Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
In other news, one person is dead and another remains in critical condition after a plane crash at the Cross City Airport Sunday night. According to the Dixie County Sheriff's Office, a Landcare 360 plane crashed. Airport officials say a staff member witnessed the pilot turning with the wind instead of into it. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the crash. The Four Corners Cops Without Borders agreement has been in place since 2008, and this morning, the pact between four government agencies was resealed again. Because of its unique geography, the city of Melrose is technically sat between four counties. Alachua, Bradford, Clay, and Putnam County officers all respond to incidents in the area depending on where it takes place. Deputies from one agency can arrest a felony offender across county lines when necessary and appropriate. And today, all four sheriffs gathered to renew the agreement another year. Now let's take a look at the traffic. In Marion County, I-75 is mostly clear. There's one disabled vehicle in the right emergency lane, but it doesn't seem to be slowing the flow of traffic. If you're heading down on I-75, it should be smooth sailing. Now, let's toss it over to UF meteorologist William Maxham. William, it's a bright and sunny day right now, a nice contrast to the chill we felt this morning.
Yeah, it was very chilly to start with today. Temperatures were into the 50s and we're warming up, yes, but we're going to see cool mornings through the next several days. So it's going to be a stretch where you're going to need multiple ways to dress. The first, in the morning, you're going to need that jacket, but in the afternoon, going to be around 80 degrees, not so necessary into the afternoon. This morning, we were in the 40s in Perry, 55 in Gainesville. I think we'll be into the 60s tomorrow morning. Not quite as chilly on our Tuesday because we'll start out with a few more clouds. We have perfect sunshine right now. We've warmed up from those 50s into the middle 70s at the moment, and that's underneath what's pretty much a crystal clear blue sky. Looking over campus, yeah, there are a couple little clouds here and there, but for the most part, it is a deep blue that you're going to see. Winds are going to be out of the northeast through the next, well, couple of days. That's where cool air lives, but with blue skies like this, strong sunshine, the cool breezes will be, well, not as strong as that sunshine, and temperature should be a little bit above average. Okay, we still have over a month to go in hurricane season, and after Milton, we had two additional storms, Nadine and Oscar. Oscar still is a storm right now, but fortunately it's not going to pose any kind of impact for us here in Florida. Right now it's over Cuba, and it's going to stay well to our south. The computer models are all bringing this storm to the north and to the east over the next couple days. It's not even going to really intensify. It's going to stay into the same kind of strength, around 40 miles an hour for some of those peak winds as it moves out to sea. Elsewhere, there are no areas of tropical weather that the National Hurricane Center is tracking for now. We're tracking this high pressure area. That's going to keep us storm free and pretty much cloud free over the short term, but additional areas of high pressure are going to keep those tropical systems away and keep the sunshine in place. This is the high that we have right now. It's going to move off to the east and become less of a thing into the middle of the week, but another area of high pressure scooting our way just in time for the weekend. That's going to kind of act to block all that tropical stuff to the south where the lines are running east to west. That's where the wind is blowing, so winds are blowing like this around the high, and we're not going to see any of those tropical systems being able to penetrate that. So kind of acting like a shield, that high pressure keeping us dry from those tropical systems into the short term. And while we're dry, we'll enjoy some pleasant temperatures into the afternoons. This afternoon, I think we'll briefly get into the 80s and then cool back down into the 60s overnight tonight. The stretch of nice weather continues through the weekend. Both days looking dry, temperatures comfortable into the lower 80s Saturday, around 80 on Sunday, but no rain expected either one of those days. And over the next 7, comfortable weather continues, no rain chances until at least the middle of next week.
And talk about enjoying that beautiful weather we had over the weekend. The thousands that went out to celebrate Key West's annual Fantasy Fest Costuming and Masking Festival celebrated the Halloween season in a unique way. Sunday's bike ride featured several thousand of the Bicycle Dead prowling the island's Atlantic Ocean shoreline and streets. Many of those attending wore traditional zombie costumes paired with a scary face and body paint, while others were creatively costumed as everything from evil clowns and pirates to undead brides in tattered gowns. The zombie bike ride capped the first weekend of Key West's annual Fantasy Fest celebration that continues through October 27th. The Girl Scouts of the USA are raising membership dues 160% over the next 2 years. The National Council voted to hike prices from $25 to $45 in 2026. In 2027, dues will increase again to $65 per scout, which is still a smaller increase than the $85 originally proposed. Membership dues are the organization's largest source of revenue. In 2023, they generated $38 million from nearly 2 million members. But the Girl Scouts has faced cash flow issues stemming from the pandemic, inflation, and changing consumer behaviors. Now let's head over to WUFT First at 5 anchor Alex Land with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5. Alex?
Thanks, Bernie. We're covering 3 top stories for you tonight on Channel 5. Early voting is now underway in many north central Florida counties. We'll have the where, when, and how to vote early coming up. Filling up your gas tank will be less of a hit to your bank account, while gas prices are stabilizing after the fluctuations from Hurricane Milton. And your local Dollar General may see fruits and veggies lining its shelves. That's all for your First at 5 preview. I'm Alex Land. See you tonight.
Before we go, one last check on the weather, Chip.
Yeah, we're into the 70s right now. We'll be right around 80 degrees later today. That's the temperature. Dew point temperature is actually the measure of how much moisture is in the atmosphere, and these numbers are kind of low. 59, our current dew point, and when you have dry air in place, you get colder overnights and those milder afternoons. That's going to be the pattern over the next few days. Dew point's going to stay relatively low, generally into the 60s, and you can think of that kind of as a floor for how cold it's going to get into the overnight hours. So a little milder into the overnights over the next couple of days. Then we see another surge of colder, drier air at the end of the week. Regardless, temperatures, though, going to be pretty comfortable into the afternoons despite those early mornings. Each day, temperatures should max out just a little bit above the average mark into the lower 80s. Sunshine dominates each day, and I don't think we'll see any rain for at least the next 7 days, but probably more like 10 days, maybe even 14 days before we have a significant chance of rain back in the forecast. So gorgeous days ahead, just jacket weather in the morning.
Thanks for joining us for WUFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition. We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV Channel 6.